You clicked for the full tale of Norse myth. Good. Here's the twist the movies skip. The gods know how the world ends, and they fight anyway. Why keep oaths when fate is sealed? Because in these stories, honor is the engine of the cosmos. Stay with me as we climb Yggdrasil, trace the war that fused Aesir and Vanir, and follow the chain that holds a wolf made of endings. We'll reach Ragnarök, then step through the fire to the morning after, where two quiet survivors teach us what resilience actually means. Why start with a corpse turning into a world? Because in the old stories, order doesn't arrive gently. It's cut from strife, and it stands because someone swears to keep it standing. That's our theme. The first scene is not a cradle, but a collision. Before land or sky or names, there is a gap with force but no shape. Ginnungagap feels like a breath held forever. On one side, a realm of hard frost and rime crowds forward. On the other, a bright blast of heat spills and cracks. Where cold and fire meet, they don't mix so much as bite and melt, drip and steam. From that clash, a life stirs. A being rises who feeds, sweats, and spawns in a raw way. And from this first giant slain body, a map is cut. Bones harden into cliffs. Blood spreads into seas. Skin pulls tight to hold a horizon. Teeth root like boulders. The skull lifts to become the sky's lid, and sparks from the old fire are set there as steady points, so night has a pattern. If the ground itself is shaped from a death, can peace ever be more than a pause? That question runs under every feast and oath that follows. Think of a ship built from wreckage. The hull can be strong. It can cross long water. But the planks remember the storm. They creak with it. They ask the crew to row together, or the old break will find them again. Into this built world stands a tree like a spine. Its roots bite deep where laws and secrets pool, and its crown spreads across 9 realms that touch but do not blur. Yggdrasil carries traffic. Gods walk its paths. Creatures gnaw and watch. Wells sit at its foot with work to do. One holds memory and the weight of deeds, so oaths sink and settle. Another keeps counsel and costs, where a draft buys a measure of insight, paid with something you cannot get back. Water rises from those wells, and what moves in the branches knows. Fate is not a slogan here. It is a flow that stains what it touches. On a coast, 2 pieces of driftwood roll and rest. They are bare matter until hands lift them. Breath goes in, sight opens, warmth stirs. The 2 stand as the first people and receive more than life. They receive tasks, speech to make terms, hearing to take counsel, form to fit a world of deals and kin. Ask and Embla are not accidents. They are a pledge taken up by makers who, by giving life, bind themselves to tend it. From the start, the gods owe the work of upkeep, because creation was not safe. It was a risk taken. That logic runs like a groove. If you raise a hall from a ruin, you keep the roof tight. If you break a monster to make a border, you patrol the line you drew. The tree hums with this. Every root carries a promise. Every spring whispers a price. The wells feed fate and wisdom, and both speak in limits you can learn. You can see ahead. You cannot step off the road and still claim to walk it. That edge keeps the gods honest, or at least busy trying. The shape of the cosmos shows a kind of practice. The sun and moon take their paths not just because someone hung them, but because their travel keeps the rhythm of gatherings and rites. The sky's skull is not only a dome, it is a schedule. The sea is not only spilt blood, it is a border that must be crossed with care. Wind is not only breath, it is the sign of change that must be read. Order in this world is not soft. It has a price tag. Making a stable realm from a slain body sets a duty: guard what you carved. That duty takes the form of vows, feasts, judgments, and the steady paying of debts to the places that make knowing possible. The gods do not rule by brute force alone. They sit at council stones, send messengers, trade, teach, and test. They visit the wells and give something up to drink. Prophecy curls in the roots like a sleeping snake. It isn't a neat scroll. It's more like a hum that says, what begins in struggle ends there too, and then starts again. The tree is living witness. It has watched cycles, and it holds the taste of ash and rain. When tales say the end will come with a storm of ice and flame, it's not a glitch in the system. It's the pattern finishing its round. What this means is simple and hard. Birth and doom grow from the same soil. Fate here is a circle, not a cliff. You don't march off into nothing. You reach a rim and turn, and what you have done becomes the ground. The next turn stands on. The gods know this. That's why their craft matters. That's why their oaths matter. Their world is not permanent. It is maintained. Back to Ask and Embla for a breath. They start a line of people meant to speak, promise, and remember. Their gift set includes the tools to take part in the order, the breath to swear, the mind to recall, the senses to weigh what's fair. In a cosmos built from a body, fairness isn't a mood. It's a brace that keeps the beams from bowing. Yggdrasil's branches hold messengers that carry news between realms. Its bark takes scars. A deer strips the leaves, a hawk perches high and sees far. Down below, a serpent works the roots. None of that breaks the tree outright. It wears the damage and keeps the roads open. That's the model. The world is a working thing, not a polished statue. So we come back to the first blow that made mountains and the first vow that made order. The act of killing set borders. The act of promise set duty. The makers became caretakers the moment they shaped land from flesh and hung sparks as steadied stars. Their authority is a job, not a trophy. They pay for it in blood, in secrets given up, in the strain of holding a pattern together while forces pull it apart. And if the circle holds, then after every storm, there is work. After every feast, there's a debt to settle. After every victory, there's a tally that includes what it cost. This is not a grim view, it's a practical one. A crew knows the sea will rise. They still set sail because the route must be kept, and the cargo must reach the next shore. So, if the world itself is a promise, the next test is not about rocks and waves, it's about keepers. When rival gods face each other across a field and decide how to stop a war, we'll see whether vows can widen enough to hold both kinds of power without breaking the hull. We're all riding. How do two sets of gods stop a war? They hand each other their best people and dare the future to hold. That's the move here. Peace made from trust so sharp, it could cut the hand that offers it. On one side, we have the Aesir, who run on order, war, and law. They like walls, councils, and the clean edge of a verdict. On the other, the Vanir, who speak for fertility, the sea, and foresight. They tend cycles, tides, and the strange curve of fate that shows up before a thing happens. Clash those values and you don't get a quick raid. You get a long pull that drags the world into a question. Whose oath keeps the wind straight? War strains the bridges and the patience of both halls. The Aesir push rules backed by spears. The Vanir answer with blessings, curses, and the kind of knowing that turns a fight sideways. You can feel the difference in the way each group measures debt. One writes it in judgment stones. The other reads it in fields, nets, and births. Two kinds of promise, both claiming they hold the line. Now comes the tension that gives the story its bite. Warriors keep faith by standing firm, even when the odds lean. Seers keep faith by bending, because sight says a straight road can walk you into a pit. Which oath saves more lives over time? Which oath keeps the world steady when storms stack? In the old stories, the answer is not either or, it's a hard both. So they build peace with a trade no one can fake. Hostages, not as prisoners, but as living stakes. If you harm what I gave, I have cause. If you care for them, we share more than words. Rituals seal the pact. Spit goes into a bowl from both sides, mixed on purpose. From that shared broth, they shape Kvasir, a being whose mind can ride hard questions clean. Wisdom, in this moment, is not a trophy. It's a byproduct of risk managed together. The exchange has names and weight. The Vanir send Njordr, Freyr, and Freya into Asgard. With them come rites of sea luck, grain plenty, and a craft called Satyr that threads will and fate. Satyr isn't a soldier's tool. It works with trance, song, and choice framed in symbols. It looks sideways at a problem and then pulls on a thread you didn't see. The Aesir learn it because survival demands more than steel. We feel the shift in the hall life. Freyr brings rites that make fields heavy and peace years real. Freya walks with Satyr and names that cross roles, turning the high seat into a place where sight and command meet. Njordr steadies ships and harbors, showing that order means safe returns as much as clean verdicts. Law widens. Victory takes on a new face. A full barn is a win. A calm bay is a win. What this means is plain and deep. The pantheon fuses, not by erasing differences, but by letting them live under one roof. That fusion explains why the myths can hold a song of battle and a blessing over seed with equal honor. In one frame, you have shield walls. In the other, furrows and hearths. Both are sacred duties because both keep the pattern from slipping craft threads through this piece like a steel cord. Dwarfs hammer gifts that set rules in metal. Oaths touch these objects and stick harder, a spear that seals pacts, a ship that folds like a cloak, then opens to carry every need, a ring that counts the passing of worth. Each piece is a tool and a test. You can use a thing to build or to boast. The Vanir's arts and the dwarf's tools together make the cosmos less brittle. Cords cross, loads spread. Think of it as a woven fence. One stake by itself snaps. Twist branches from two groves and you get something that can flex with the wind and stand the winter. The truce works like that. It doesn't stop storms. It teaches the hedge to lean and rise without breaking. We should also sit with the moral math of hostages. It's a hard trust. You don't send your middling kin. You send names with weight. That puts skin in the game for both sides every day, not just at treaty time. Meals change. Feasts include new rites. Songs trade verses. The mingling of cults shows up in the small things. How a prayer begins, where a cup is passed, when a field is blessed before a raid sets out. Culture is policy you carry in the hand. Kvasir walks the roads in this era, a sign that wisdom grows when enemies share breath. He moves knowledge, not as a hoarded prize, but as a duty to speak. His very origin says the quiet part out loud. Shared spit, shared mind. That's a bold claim in a world where secrets are power. It hints at a theme that will echo later when knowledge gets caged and then stolen. We can feel the costs too. A wider order asks for tolerance, and tolerance rubs old habits raw. A warrior lord now takes counsel from a satyr worker who answers to different rules of shame and honor. A sea god sits in a court that once weighed only land-bound law. Friction is not a flaw, it's the price of fusion. Yet the benefits are clear. Fields thrive when spears guard the borders. Fleets arrive when winds answer a name they respect. Tools born in this peace will later decide battles the gods cannot win by courage alone. A chain so soft it can bind a beast nobody can face head-on. A horn whose blast cuts through doubt. A set of rights that can heal or bind or see around corners. And yes, the same web breeds its own snare. Gifts that save can set the stage for a fall when pride pulls too hard. The story will cash those checks. By now, the truce reads less like a ceasefire and more like a merger. It widens what order can mean. Order is no longer just a wall with guards. It's a field rotation, a sailing season, a vow that bends to take strain instead of snapping clean and proud. That stretch keeps people fed and ships safe and gods ready for the next shock. So we end this chapter with a truth the old stories like to hold in the hand. Peace made of hostages is peace that teaches both sides to measure their words, because the cost is sitting at your table. The synthesis holds as long as both oaths, the rigid and the fluent, speak to each other before they act. That balance steadies the tree for a time. Now into that careful weave steps a boundary crosser who can turn a gamble into a miracle before breakfast and into a crisis by night. He makes gifts that fix problems and plots that make them worse, often in the same breath. Why does a pantheon keep its saboteur? Because some doors won't open to straight hands. In the old stories, that's Loki's job. He is a shapeshifter and a mind that tilts. He can sweet-talk dwarfs, bait giants, and smuggle a plan through places where pride can't fit. The Hall needs him, even when the Hall hates him. Loki stands as the trickster archetype, the one who tests contracts by pressing on their edges. He can look like an ally and act like a knife. He can look like a threat and land, somehow, as a gift. He moves between camps with the ease of smoke, and that movement is the point. Borders stay real because someone tries to cross them. We feel his pull in the way marvels come to the gods. He pushes a bet that goes wrong, and from that mess comes work. The cosmos still leans on the hammer that sets thunder's reach, the spear that pins oaths, the ship that carries goods and hosts in any wind. None of these arrive by a clean plan. They arrive by a dare, a race, a boast, a fast tongue, a smarter bribe. The gain is real, so is the risk. Take the bet that ends with Thor's hammer. A boast turns hot, dwarfs take the challenge, and stakes climb past good sense. Out of the forge comes Mjolnir, short-handled and fierce, a weapon that will save more than once. But the cost is baked in, pride is singed, trust thins. A win lands with a bruise. That's Loki's math. A boon plus a bill. Or think of a bluff that saves and threatens in the same breath. Loki spins a fix that stops one disaster, then binds the group to a new weak point. The story runs on these moves. The gods let him near problems they cannot solve with force, and he returns with a tool. He also returns with a crack that only shows later when weight finds it. What this means is that Loki keeps the community honest about where its edges really are. He is the stress test. He is the coyote at the fence line, the hand on the latch, the quirk in the contract that forces a reread. Without that test, rules grow brittle and blind. With it, rules flex, but the hinge wears out. Both truths sit in the same seat. There is a moral economy in every trick. Nothing arrives free. A gift means someone bowed, someone lied, someone swallowed a dare that will come due. Dignity can be the price. Loyalty can be the price. A debt to the future can be the price. Loki deals in that currency, and he deals fast. He will sell a solution the same day he buys a danger. You can hear the hall respond. Laughter when a scheme lands. Side-eye when it costs. A feast to bless a new treasure. a quiet note that the path to it ran through shame, stolen sleep, or a promise spoken with fingers crossed the culture learns. It adds clauses to oaths. It sets taproots of caution in places that used to be loose soil. That's the trickster's school. Now, his part in the coming dark sits at the edge of this chapter. We won't open that door yet, but we can say this. One oath will break in a way that coal embers a whole world. Loki's hand will be on that hinge. The small gap in a wall he often slips through will be the exact shape of the wound to come. The gods already sense it and keep him close anyway. The tension here is sharp. He secures gifts like Mjolnir and Gungnir. He also loosens threads that those same gifts aim to hold. He can turn a feast into a workshop and a workshop into a fight. He can wear a hawk's skin, a mare's hide, or a mask of calm that hides a match. That elasticity lets the pantheon adapt. It also makes the floor creak. Think of him as a knife. In skilled hands, a blade carves the beam that supports a roof. In a flash of temper, it slices the rope you needed to climb back out. Loki is both motions. He can split a problem into workable parts. He can cut the last tying strand. Both acts leave marks you can't miss. Across this era, he travels between dwarfs' forges and Asgard's benches, turning insults into contests and loss into leverage. The makers win reputation and the gods win tools. The bill lands later when someone asks how that gain was made and who paid the unseen share. It is never a nameless ghost who paid. It is always a person, a vow, a piece of standing trust. We see why the hall endures him. Innovation needs risk. Risk carries danger. They accept the package because stasis kills as surely as a spear. In a world built on oaths and maintained by craft, a jolt has value. It forces new paths. It reminds proud heads that cunning counts. It keeps the web from growing stale, even as it frays the edges. But there is a line the gods can host a troublemaker who dents pride and rearranges furniture. They cannot host a breaker of core bonds. Once an oath that holds the circle snaps, there is no craft quick enough to weave it shut before the storm arrives. The tales point to one such snap, a single act that turns a bright hall dim. So Loki stands as both spark and ash. He starts fires in the forge and in the field, and both warm the hall in turn. He also leaves cinders that blow under doors and find rush mats. He is the figure the story needs to move, and the figure the story names when the moving ends. That is the dual function at the heart of his arc. We live with that tension as long as we can. The hall does too. They grant him a seat and a leash made of laughter and wary eyes. They let him loose when a problem has no straight answer. They pull hard when he plays near the beams that hold the roof. It works until it doesn't. Before we cross that threshold, we need one more strand in place. The chief god will go hunting for knowledge no weapon can replace. He will pay in ways that leave a mark on his face and his name. And he will do it because he knows the storm Loki will help call cannot be dodged, only met with a plan and a straight spine. If fate is set, why hunt knowledge? So you can meet it on your feet. Odin lives by that line. In the old stories, he does not chase secrets to wiggle out of doom. He chases them so choice has edge when the hour comes. He wants to know what hurts, what helps, and how long a thread can hold before it snaps. His first wager leaves a mark you can see. He gives an eye at Mimir's well for a drink that tastes like cost. The trade is simple and harsh. To see deeper, you must lose some sight. That's not poetry, it's policy. An eye for counsel says that vision worth having is never free. It also says that rule, to be steady, has to pay in flesh. Not just words he walks away altered. He also walks away better armed for the work of keeping a world in shape. Then comes the long night that teaches him letters that don't sit quiet. He hangs on Yggdrasil for 9 nights, alone, wounded, and fasting, to seize the runes. These are not pretty marks. They act. Each stave is a small machine. Carve one, and it binds. Carve another, and it heals. Carve a third, and it forces truth to stand up in a room where lies would rather lounge. Think of runes as tools the way a carpenter thinks of a level and a square. Simple shapes that keep whole houses from leaning. Odin learns them with pain, because pain sets knowledge in the bones. Now the tension sharpens. Knowing a storm is coming does not stop the clouds. It lets you choose where to stand and what to hold. Is that enough? In this mythic frame, yes, enough to aim courage. Enough to guide law. Enough to be remembered for holding the line. The runes serve that plan. They order chaos into forms a court can read. They turn a whisper into a binding. They make healing a craft with steps, not a wish cast into the wind. The runes also carry a sober ethic. Use them wrong, and they bite the hand that drew them. Use them well, and they keep ships off rocks and neighbors out of blood feuds. The old verses link them to binding a foe without killing him, to cooling tempers at a feast, to naming what happened so a quarrel can end. In a world born from a cut that matters, tools that bind and heal keep the cut from widening. Odin does not stop with hard marks. He learns Seder. That choice stirs talk because Seder blurs the lines that men of rank often guard. It works with song, trance, and the bending of will through signs. It asks a leader to move like water when stone would rather stand. He takes it on anyway because survival demands flexibility. War skills hold borders. Seder reaches under a problem and turns it. The mix is what lets him steer a cosmos that bends more than it breaks. You can feel how this magic shifts the way he rules. He does not rely only on force or decree. He weaves. He sets oaths at angles so they hold under strain. He reads dreams, not as fluff, but as signals. He uses shame and honor like levers. He lets a right carry a message into a heart that would spit a command back in his face. Adaptable power keeps a hall standing longer than pride does. Oaths, charms, and counsel become weapons as real as spears. A spoken bond can stop a raid. A carved stave can seal a treaty, so even the hotheads feel the break. A timely word can turn a rival into an ally for one more season. None of this is soft. It is hard work that saves blood. It also sets a record because words and marks outlast moods. They give people a way to remember what was promised when tempers cool and the drink wears off. The costs of rule pad at his heels. 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin, fly out and bring back news and worry in equal measure. Thought and memory do not rest. They circle, gather, and whisper what happens in the 9 realms. That constant sight is a gift and a tax. It means he knows more. It also means he cannot look away. His wolves, Gary and Freki, keep close in the hall. They match his hunger and guard his place. Companions like that say a lot about a king who eats risk for breakfast and still wants more. What this means is that Odin is always paying for the right to know and to lead. He parts with comfort, with a piece of his face, with the privacy that lets lesser rulers sleep. He buys tools that control the shape of choice. He buys time to set guards where walls will fail. He buys clarity about which losses to accept and which to fight like a fire. Every wager aims toward one crisis. Baldr dreams. The dream is a thin edge that turns into a blade. Odin sees the shape of that threat sooner than most because he trained himself to listen. He sends, he asks, he carves, he bargains. He cannot erase what is coming. He can only pack the day with courage and memory, so when the blow lands, the rest of the house does not fall at once. The payoff here is not escape, it is preparation. He stacks the deck in small ways, a charm that holds a door, a rite that steadies a council, a story told at the right moment so the young know what to do when the horn sounds. Fate names the shape. Choice fills it. He chooses to make each step count, to turn knowledge into action that keeps a pattern alive, even when it burns his hands. There is a quiet lesson in how he bears the mark of Mimir's well. He does not hide it. He lets the gap in his face speak for him. It says that leadership costs. It says that wisdom sits in scars. People trust a rule that is clearly paid to exist. The runes on wood, the rites in a circle, the ravens on the rafters, the wolves at his feet. Each is a sign that he will pay again if needed. So when the safest god in the hall becomes the spark that lights the end, we are not caught flat. We have watched the groundwork go down. We have seen the tools chosen and the bill accepted. The next step is not a mystery. It is a hinge the whole room has felt clicking toward us for a long time. How do you kill a god sworn safe by everything? You look for the one thing that never swore. In the old stories, that gap is small, and it's enough. Safety built on vows still has seams, and a clever hand can pull one thread. Baldr dreams of harm. He wakes and tells it. The hall listens, and a hush spreads, because joy like his should not dream of knives. Frigg moves. She goes to everything that can strike, or burn, or chill. She asks for no harm oaths from iron and fire, from stone and storm, from beasts and roots, and the tools men use. Each says yes. Her work is thorough and tender, and for a while the world feels padded. With those pledges set, Baldr turns into a sport the hall can't resist. Spears bounce, stones kiss and drop, blows land like snowflakes. Laughter runs long because Invulnerable has a glow. It feels like a break from the grind of upkeep and war. You can hear mugs thump and see shoulders drop as fear takes a holiday. It looks safe. It is not. The tension lives in the way games dull watchfulness. The oaths hold. The ritual grows casual. And what does ritual fear most? The uninvited thing. Mistletoe is small. It rides another plant. It doesn't stand on its own like oak or ash. In some tellings, Frigg passed it by because it seemed too young to swear. In others, it simply wasn't on the list. Either way, it did not take the vow. Loki learns that detail. Of course he does. He listens where others laugh. He trims a sprig. He shapes a light dart. He does not throw it. He finds Hodr, Baldr's blind brother, left out of the sport because he can't see the target. Loki offers a hand. He guides the aim with soft talk. He stands close and sets the throw, and the little shaft finds the one god no blade can scratch. The hall stops. Baldr falls. The gap that seemed too small to matter becomes the only path that mattered. In a world ruled by oaths, the single unstated promise opens like a crack in ice. It spreads fast. The lesson lands hard. A net woven wide is only as strong as the one knot you left loose. We sit with the shock, then we follow the rules of care. The gods do not leave him to the dark if there's a bargain to try. A messenger rides the roads to Hell's Hall to plead. The ruler of the dead sets a clear test. If all things weep for Baldr, he can come home. So they ask the world to cry. Stones sweat, trees drip, animals wail in their way. People sing sharp with grief. Almost everything breaks. One figure does not. A being in a cave, stubborn and hard, refuses to mourn. One dry eye breaks the spell. The door stays shut. You can call that malice, You can call it the rule pushed back on the people who stretched it too far. Either way, the mercy fails. The dead do not return. What this shows is simple and rough. A system of oaths works until the one oath that matters isn't made. Then every pledge made in good faith leans on empty air. Baldr's death marks that turn. After it, the pace of loss increases. The old stories treat this moment as the irreversible slide toward the last fight. Once light like his is gone, bonds fray faster. Laughter does not heal like it did. The hall sits under a new weight. We feel it in small failures first. Allies test each other's patience and find less give. Promises stand, but they creak. The trust that let tools and rights cross borders starts to wobble. People who shrugged off danger now count risks more tightly. The wolf's chain begins to strain. The soft ribbon that once held like iron feels a twitch that nobody can ignore for long. Think of Baldr's fall as a keystone removed. The arch stands for a heartbeat, then stones shift, then more, until the thing that looks solid reveals how much depended on that one wedge. It's not that the gods stop trying. They try harder. They call more councils. They watch the sky. They count omens with tired eyes. But they know we do too. The circle that began in a violent making has found the crack that leads to its end and renewal. Loki's part in the act is clear, and so are the costs. Grief turns to anger. The company hunts him, not right away, but with a slow, steady aim that leaves no path open. When they catch him, they bind him. They use bonds and venom as penalty, echoing the broken trust with punishments that feel like long reminders. Binding, in these tales, is never just rope. It is time stored under pressure. What this means is that punishment here is both justice and delay. They can't fix the breach. They can slow the spread. They can put the trickster under rock with a poison drip and a brave companion catching the fall in a bowl. They can buy seasons. They can't buy forever. The myth is honest about that. Back in Hel's Hall, the failed rescue sits like a stone in the gut. Baldr's mother tried to wrap the world in safety, and almost did. Almost is not enough when fate is measured by circles and clauses. The dead who won't weep, call her a mask for Loki, call her a stubborn shade, carries the hard edge of the tale. Not all hearts bend when asked. Not all losses can be bargained back. So we leave this chapter with the air changed. The sport is over. The bright one is gone. The lords of order feel the ground loosen. The seers hear the roots hum with what's next. Every tie in the web holds a little less. Every chain sings a little harder. The next moves are not about glory. They're about keeping shape in a world that just lost its center light. And yet the old stories keep the habit of turning grief into duty. They plan. They stand watch. They sharpen what they learned from wells and runes. Courage shifts from the feast hall to the long winter of waiting oaths mean more in the lean times. Words hold a room together when steel can't reach the problem. One broken circle widens into the world's unraveling. That's the payoff, if we can call it that. The trigger is small, but the echo is vast. We don't rush past it, we let it sound. And then we move to the next coil in the rope. The trickster is bound, but binding only stores energy for later. What holds a monster fated to break free? A promise that looks like play. In the old stories, that's how the gods face a threat you can't outmuscle. They turn danger into a test with rules, smiles, and stakes hidden in the sleeves. Fenrir grows fast, feeds well, and learns quicker than anyone likes. His size makes halls feel small. His bite makes even brave faces stiffen. They try iron. They try heavier iron. He snaps both like old twine, and every broken link sounds like a clock ticking louder, so the plan shifts from weight to wit. If strength won't hold, craft must. The gods go to the finest makers, the ones who can pull form out of riddles, and they order a bond that isn't a chain at all. It arrives as a ribbon. Soft, smooth, a strip you could coil in a pocket. They call it Gleipnir. It's woven from things that don't sit on a table. The sound a cat's foot doesn't make, the roots of a mountain, the breath of a fish, the beard of a woman, the sinews of a bear, the spittle of a bird. The list tells you the spell. If it can't be found, it can't be cut. If it can't be named cleanly, it slips past proud eyes that only trust what they can weigh. Now comes the game. They lead Fenrir to a quiet place and lay the ribbon out, no show of force, no ring of spears. They say it's a test, a sport, a stunt for stories. If he can break this, he proves he's as strong as the boasting claims he looks. He listens. He smells the lie under the laugh. This strip is too light to be harmless. He agrees to play, but he sets a price. A pledge someone must put a hand in his mouth as surety. If the bond turns out to be trickery, he will bite. Fair is fair. Only one steps forward. Tyr. He is the one who stands for law in hard cases. He feeds the wolf, so the wolf knows his scent. He also knows that if a test is built on deceit, the oath is already crooked, but he reads the need. The world shakes under this pup's stride. A promise made to stop that quake will save more than one hand. He sets his right hand in the jaws and meets the eyes across the teeth. They wrap the ribbon. It closes like calm water. Fenrir heaves. The grass doesn't bend. He twists. The ribbon laughs without sound. He strains with a rage that reddens the sky. Gleipnir only tightens, thin as silk and meaner than any chain ever forged. Then the payment comes due. Tyr doesn't yank back. He holds steady. The bite lands and takes his hand at the wrist. He bleeds, and the cut does more than sting. It marks the cost of using deceit under a banner that says law. What this shows is clean and hard. Oath-breaking by trick is still a break. The gods acted to keep the world steady, but they did it by bending the rule they claim to guard. Tyr pays, so the principle can stand. Law's guardian damaged to keep law from failing. The moral weight sits with him. He loses the right hand, the hand of oath and sword, and with that loss, buys time the rest of them turn into seasons of order. Gleipnir holds, so they bind the wolf to a distant rock. They set a sword as a gag, spread wide so his jaws cannot close. Spittle pools and runs like a river that does not forget. Binding here is not only rope and metal, it's a schedule. It says later, not never. You can hear how that note plays with the other bonds in the tale. Loki, after Baldr's fall, is pinned under stone, his body stung by venom that drips slow as a clock. His bonds speak the same language. You did this, and we cannot undo it, but we can hold the shock in place. Penalty becomes storage. Pain becomes a timer. Across the realms, you can feel the web tighten. Some ties are chosen, some are born with, some are paid for in blood. Each one buys a span, a grace period, a chance to set the house in order before the storm cracks the rafters. It's like tying a cracked mast with cord. You don't pretend the break is gone, you make it through the night. That's the binding motif the old stories love. Not fix, but hold, not cure, but stall in a way that gives people a job worth doing. We should sit with the craft itself for a moment. The dwarf's art in this ribbon is a lesson about how soft tools can be harder than steel. Gleipnir is quiet. No clank, no glow. It works because it comes from ideas, absences, and names that bend expectation. You can't muscle what isn't there. You can't cut silence with a blade. Craft that aims at limits beats brute force in problems where force would only feed the thing you fear. The wolf grows on struggle, so they starve him of it with a restraint that gives nothing to push against. Tyr's cost turns into a story people tell when they argue about means and ends. Does a right act stay right if it cheats? In these tales, the answer is uneasy. The gods cheat to stop a greater harm. The bill is carved on the body of the one who keeps the law. His wound says, we did wrong for the right reason, and we pay. That payment doesn't wash the slate clean. It writes a note in the margin for later. Someone will ask for change back. Now fold in Loki's bonds again. Venom falls. A bowl catches it, carried by loyalty that shakes when arms get tired. When the bowl tips, the drop burns. The body writhes. The earth quakes, and people learn how far pain can travel. The image ties to every other binding. All of it is coiled for release. The chains on a beast, the cords on a trickster, the oaths on a hall, the runes on a staff. Each will snap on cue, not loose at random. Snap together. That's the dread and the rhythm. What this means is that heroes in this frame don't win by erasing threats. They win by buying time and then filling that time with meaning. Bind the wolf and you get years. Use them to teach, to harvest, to raise people who stand. Bind the breaker of oaths and you get a pause. Use it to shore up the beams, to share the runes, to settle feuds before the horn blows. Every bind buys time. Time is the stuff courage turns into memory. So we leave the ribbon tight and the rock holding. The law stands on one less hand, but one more lesson. The wolf watches with hot eyes and waits for the sound only he will love. The call that says all bindings have reached their hour. And we ask the next question because the story points us there. How will we know when time runs out? The sky will tell us. Would you recognize the end if it walked past your door? In the old stories, the signs are not a single roar. They arrive like a drum you can't unhear. Winter steps in and forgets how to leave. Light thins until noon looks like late dusk. Work slows because hands go numb and wheels freeze in place. They call it Fimbulwinter, 3 winters with no summer to loosen the ground. Fields don't wake, herds thin, nets freeze in their own ice. Smoke hangs low over roofs because fires burn day and night, and still the cold bites through. Roads vanish under drifts that don't melt, so trade stops and news grows old before it travels. You go to sleep knowing the sun will rise late, and it does, but with no heat. Above, the sky shows a chase that ends the old rhythm. The sun and moon keep their paths, then falter, then vanish, swallowed by the wolves that have run them for ages. No dawn lifts the frost when that happens. No moon guides a boat across a black bay. The steady beats that mark work and rest and right fall out of step. People start to count by guesses, then stop counting at all. The ground is not steady either. Quakes shiver through the roots of the great tree, and you hear it in groans that roll and don't end walls creak. Beams shed dust. Wells spit mud. Animals spook for no clear reason and tear loose from their ties. You feel a tremor in your knee bones and a hum in your teeth. Like the world holds its breath and doesn't let it out, society frays before God's march. Food runs short, so sharing turns thin and then stops. Kin who used to split the last loaf, save for their own old grudges, find sharp edges again. Oath-breaking moves from rare to common. You see feuds reignite over fences and fish traps. Judges who once settled heat with cool words go quiet or pick sides. The low hum of trust that kept markets and marriages and patrols in step fades to a scratch. This is the final test of human agency, not about winning the storm, but about holding each other through it. On the shore, a different dread takes shape. Shipwrights work with a new material, nails pulled from the dead. The boat named for that source takes all those scraps and turns them into planks. It launches when enough nails are claimed, and that timing chills the spine because it means the dead have stacked high. The sea, frozen in places and slushy in others, opens lanes where it shouldn't. Raiders who used to wait for spring top the low ice with skids under their hulls and slide toward targets that can't run. Across the wide water, wolves loose from their chains run roles they were born to. The hunt that kept to the sky drops lower. It isn't random rage, it's logistics. Each release lines up with a break elsewhere. The wolves who eat the lights, the beast who strains his ribbon. Each timing marks another pillar cut from under the hull. You can plan for one failure. You can't plan for all of them landing together. What this means is that the myths tie weather to ethics. Storms don't just freeze wells, they freeze will. The long dark doesn't only hide the road, it hides the line between mine and ours. When rights skip because roads are blocked, memory weakens. When memory weakens, people forget what a promise sounded like when their elders spoke it straight moral weather, the kind that moves hearts, rides under the ice storms and the dull skies. Let's get close to the daily grind of those years. Long dark means candles burn to stubs and no spare wax. Failed harvests mean turnips cut thinner, then skins boiled for soup, then nothing to chew, while smoke from the last log makes eyes sting. Frozen seas, trap boats, and harbors they never planned to winter in. Hulls crack, nets rot from damp salt. Children cough all night. Dogs grow lean and mean. People sleep in shifts to keep one fire alive and to watch for those who might take it. The pressure on leaders, rowers, farmers, and scalds spikes. Some hold line, some fail hard. You hear the difference in how a hall sounds. A hall that still keeps rules has a quiet you can work in. A hall that snapped echoes with short words and slammed doors. Even the hopeful talk turns spare. No one promises ease. They promise to stand when the horn sounds. And the horn will sound. Heimdall's blast cuts through storm and feud and frostbite. It's not a call for debate. It ends the talking. It starts duty. People who still own a shield take it down. People who can't fight put food in packs and set them by the door for those who can. Paths that were drifted shut become lines stamped firm by many boots. The sound levels the field. If you answer, you are counted. Every sign points armies to one field where fate and choice meet. That pull leaves little room for game plans with clever turns. Forces rise and move because it is time. The frozen years are not a pause. They are the wind-up. You can feel how 1,000 small surrenders across winters set up a few large stands in the end. That is the rhythm this cycle loves. Long strain, short clash. Think of the signs like posts on a road. Miss one and you still find the next. Hit all of them and you arrive when you should. The posts here are harsh, but they are clear. 3 winters, lights eaten, quakes, famine, feuds, a ship made of what should have stayed buried, chains snapping, the horn. None of these are surprises once the first one lands. They are a series that locks step by step. The payoff to watching for omens is not control. It is posture. When laws fail and seasons break, the last oath is to stand anyway. You say yes to the summons, even if your hand shakes. You fix your shield with rawhide. and take the line next to neighbors who fought you over a sheep in the fall. You don't do it because you expect to live through it. You do it because the oath is the last tool left that still works. In the old stories, the people who keep that oath become part of the retelling. Their names don't always ride the lines. Their act does. That is how duty outlasts a failed year. It sits in tales about a winter no one thought would end, and a horn that called a crowd from smoke and frost to a place with an old name. The field has a name, and it remembers who falls. Why this field? Because endings prefer to land where beginnings once stood. Yggdrasil is that place, a plain with memory in its soil. In the old stories, it holds the weight of early councils and the hint of later dawns when the last horn calls. The march doesn't drift. It converges here for a reason that touches ethics as much as terrain. Yggdrasil is a sacred ground tied to assembly and renewal. Think of it as a long-used meeting floor that still has chalk lines from the first gathering. You can picture benches set in circles, a ring of stones worn smooth by years of hands. The name carries a sense of return. After the tower of smoke and the crash of shields, this is where surviving gods will take stock and speak the first calm words of a new cycle. That setup makes a clean tension. Is a battlefield also a council ground? Can a place built for oaths host slaughter without losing its soul? The old stories say yes, but not by accident. The field does double duty because both tasks feed the same root, keeping order visible even when order is bleeding. Where law was spoken once, law is honored by how you fight and who you face. Geography tightens the scene. Bridges burn behind the armies, their bright arc gone to sparks, which means no retreat for anyone who crossed ships, arrive from more than one horizon, sails hard with cold wind, and decks crowded to the rails. You can hear hulls knock ice aside as they grind into that last shore. On the wide plain, ranks form like weather fronts. Giants take their line, the dead march with their new lords. The gods spread in measured wings that echo the old feast's seating charts. Meeting at a lawful place turns slaughter into witness. That shift matters. It means this isn't a brawl. It's an appointment kept. Each step to the clash carries ritual weight. You don't pick the soft target. You choose the foe your role requires. You do it where other eyes can see, where the world can say, they met the right enemy on the right ground. Even in defeat, order gets its proof. Commanders register by roll, not by a roll call littered with names. Odin seeks the wolf because oaths hunt vows that snap. And Fenrir is the living breach. Thor finds the serpent because strength meets the deep, where breadth and coil mock straight strikes. Freyr takes his place where peace once grew crops, paying for bargains that left him light on weapons. Each match clicks into meaning. It's not about rank, it's about duty. Strategy here is ritual as much as tactic. Lines align with stories told for winters on end. You stand where your myth says you stand. Shields lock, not only to block blows, but to show a pattern remembered by those who can no longer hold a shield. The moves on this field are like rights with muscle. Step wrong, and you break more than formation. You break the narrative that gives this fight its shape. Rights hum under the noise. You can hear a call and response in the clash, an old cadence that sets the pace of strikes. There's no fancy feint that flips the board. The time for clever is long past. What remains is form. That form holds the panic down. It keeps hands from grabbing at the wrong threat. It also writes the record. Later, when voices sit in a circle again, they can say where each choice landed and why. Around the edges, mythic logistics roll in. A ship built from what should have stayed buried cuts water dark as iron. Giants step from surf and snow lines. Fire walkers arrive under a light that isn't sun. The field has room for all of them because it's more idea than map. That's the trick of mythic geography. A place can be both a plain here and a pattern everywhere. Two duels will define the arc: wisdom versus hunger, strength versus depth. We feel the pull of both before they start. Odin knows the cost and meets it with a straight spine, because meeting is the law he keeps. Thor knows the poison and walks anyway, because walking the last steps is the rule he lives by. These are not surprises, they are fulfillments. The field pulls them into view like a stage light that doesn't blink. What this means is that Yggdrasil does more than host a fight. It sanctifies choice. A spear thrust here is not only muscle, it's a statement about how to live when living cannot last. A shield raised here is not only defense, it's witness that says, we kept the pattern until the edge. Even loss takes shape under that frame. Defeat in a lawful place reads as service, not waste. An analogy helps. Think of a courtroom that must, on a final day, move outside to a yard under hard weather. The rules don't change because the roof is gone. The robes are soaked, but the verdict still stands. Yggdrasil works like that. The sky breaks, the law holds. The ground remembers both the first oaths and the last blows, and so it can host the next council without shame. You and I can feel how that steadies a tale chaos wants to smear ends into noise. A chosen ground refuses that. It forces clear matches. It gives space for bonds to show what they were made of. It lets courage and discipline lay down tracks that outlast the crash itself. That's why endings return to beginnings. The place that heard promises is the right place to test them, and the right place to speak again. The mini payoff lands in the spine. This is not chaos. It's a kept appointment. The field turns a storm of ends into a ritual of meaning. Each figure moves into the role their oath built over ages. Each strike closes a loop. The plane itself witnesses and will be ready to hold new voices when smoke thins and dew returns. By standing here, they set the floor for dawn. Now the first clash waits at the edge of breath. A father who made oaths meets the hunger that eats them. The wolf opens wide. The god steps forward with a spear and a fate he already read. What does the god of oaths do when the oath says he will die? He keeps it. That is the blunt core here. Odin does not duck the claws he already read. He steps toward it with eyes that paid for sight and a spine trained by long nights on the tree. If we take anything from this scene, let it be this: a promise given to the world holds even when the world bites back. Now the setup tightens. Odin advances across Yggdrasil with the Einherjar, the chosen dead who trained for this hour in a hall built for practice and song. You can hear their stride settle into a steady beat. Shields ride high, spears angle forward. The host is not a mob, it is a pact made flesh. Odin carries his spear and the fact of his fate. He knew this walk would come the day he drank at the well and the day he carved the runes. Knowledge did not spare him the road. It gave him a way to walk it without flinching. Here's the tension that gives the moment heat. Courage without hope of victory. Does it count? In these myths, it counts most. A win is fine when the odds are kind. Honor shows when the odds are set against you by the bones of the world, and you go anyway. That standard sets the tone for how mortals are meant to weigh their own hard choices when no good end sits on the table. We stage the clash. Clean Fenrir waits with jaws that read like a gate with no hinges. The wolf is not a surprise. He is an answer to earlier acts and a measure of all the vows that frayed after Baldr fell. Odin comes within reach, sets his line, and the space between them stops being space. It is duty stretched tight. Then the jaws close. The god of oaths is swallowed by the thing that breaks oaths. The line shudders. The pattern holds. A sun rises. Vidar steps into the empty that follows his father's fall, and he does it without a speech. Silence is his brand. He carries a shoe made thick with many scraps, the kind of layered leather that turns years of small acts into a single hard edge. He plants one foot to wedge the wolf's lower jaw, drives his hand where the hinge must give, and forces the mouth open past pain. That pressure makes room for the spear, and the final thrust, the jaw breaks. The beast goes down. What this shows is tight and plain. Wisdom doesn't save the self, it saves the pattern. Odin's long work with wells and runes never promised escape. It promised a line of action others could follow when he was gone. Vidar is that follow-through. His quiet strength fills the gap on cue. The shoe is more than gear. It is an analogy for culture, a stack of small pledges hammered into a single tool that can work when talk fails. We should note the ethic at play. Vengeance here restores measure, not triumph. The father's fall is part of the rite, not a glitch to patch. The answer to the devourer is not glee over a slain beast. It is balance returned, dues paid, the ledger set to even so the rest of the fight can proceed clean. In a frame like this, victory is a function. You do what must be done to clear the board for the next move, not to soak in glory. The model for mortals sits in that stance. Keeping the last appointment is the core of honor. It means you show up when showing up hurts most, because the promise you made wasn't about your own ease. Odin knows he will die. He does the job anyway so that others can do theirs. That is the use of a leader at the rim of a cycle. To be present at the hard point and make presence itself a rule you and I can feel the room change after the jaws close. The Einherjar, trained to follow the spear point, hold rank. They do not break to grieve, they push where they must. The wolves still run, fire still rises, but a measure has been taken and returned. That tone matters. It keeps panic out of the next exchange and lets each oath holder find the foe their story demands. Think of Vidar's shoe again. It is made from many pieces trimmed off other works. That is how most of us build the thing that saves us at the worst hour. Small savings, quiet habits, the dull craft of doing the right small thing often. When the hinge moment lands, the sum of those scraps can bear weight a single, new-made tool could not. The myth ties heroism to patient prep in a way a battle cheer never could. Across the plain, wordless cues move lines. The spear where the king once walked is now a sign to keep the pace, not a magic fix. That subtle shift is the point Odin didn't hoard the pattern. He taught it, carved it, sang it, paid for it. The return on that spend is a host that can function while he is gone. You don't measure a leader's worth by how long they live. You measure it by how well the work continues in their wake. Research would put it this way if we were citing it. The act of vengeance here restores measure, not triumph. We sit with that phrase because it names the mood. The tale refuses a neat cheer. It wants a clean ledger. Now the horizon sharpens to the other duel everyone feels in their ribs. The thunderer waits for the coil that surrounds the world. Strength meets depth. The sea draws a breath it will not return. Thor steps into that space with a hammer, built in a contest that once bruised pride and saved lives. His path does not promise him a return either. He takes it because taking it is what his oath shaped him to do. The payoff lands as a line we can carry. Why fight when the song already tells the end? Because the fight is the meaning. Dying on term is keeping the world's word. It says you understood the role, read the page, and acted so others could act after you. That ethic moves from myth to living rooms and work sites and courts. It makes sense of effort when outcomes are set by forces bigger than any one will. We hold that thought as the air changes. The serpent waits. Thor answers. Why does Thor swing when he knows the venom will stop his heart? Because strength in the old stories is a promise kept at full cost. He isn't confused. He isn't reckless. He has read the line that names his end, and he still steps forward. That choice is what gives the hammer weight when it rises. Now the setup. Thor faces the world serpent, Jörmungandr, an old rival curled around the rim of the sea. They have met before in contests and hints, but this is the appointed clash. Coil meets storm, breath meets breath. The serpent's body spans horizons, tight as a belt on the world's waist. Thor's stance is short and sure. One figure is spread thin and vast. The other is dense and certain, a point meant to drive into a circle. Here the tension starts to grind. Every step is poison. The serpent breathes and the air goes sour. Thor moves and waves change shape under the pull of his weight. Each strike shakes the sea, not as metaphor, but as a physical law inside this tale. When hammer strikes scale, swells rise and run in lines that make ships knock teeth with ice. The fight is a weather event. It folds into the world's pulse. Victory means death by breath. That's the clause. Thor can win. He can land the blow that stops the coil, but the venom will reach him all the same. This is a duel written like a proof problem. If A, then B. If strength holds, the deep spills poison. He knows the terms. We do too. The question left is how he carries those terms. So we describe the clash. Mjolnir rises, short-handled and hard, the gift born from a bad bet that still paid off with a tool fit for ends like this. The serpent lifts its head, a ridge of shadow above a field of broken water. Thor plants his feet. He breathes once. The first hit rolls the horizon, scales ring. The coil tightens, then whips, and the arc of it scrapes the sky. The second hit lands lower, a wedge sending shock through a spine that touches every shore spray flies. The third hit snaps a rhythm in the bones. Through all of that, the venom starts its work. You can almost feel the burn in the lungs, the weight in the legs. Thor keeps the string of strikes clean. He doesn't reach for tricks. He doesn't shout. He swings with the steadiness of a worker splitting wood, each blow placed to open a seam that is already counting down. The serpent answers with pressure, trying to wrap, to slow, to smother the motion that will undo it. Then the blow that ends the coil lands. Mjolnir drops like a seal on a verdict. The serpent shudders. Its grip on the world loosens, not all at once, but in a stuttering release that lets wind rush in where squeeze once held. The sea's surface goes ragged. A sound like a long drumbeat fades. Jörmungandr dies. Thor takes 9 steps. The steps matter. They are the measure. He walks them after the wind, body filling with poison he cannot stop. Each step is a count against pain, a small march that says strength. Here is not about the kill. It's about how far you can go once you've done what you came to do. He makes it to the 9th. Then he falls. What this shows is clear. In a frame where outcomes are known, agency narrows to the choice of posture under that knowledge. Thor picks steady form. He does not try to steal more life than the right allows. He gives the blow, takes the price, and claims the distance between first dagger and last breath as his field of meaning. The 9 steps are a line you can hold in your head when glory blurs. Now tie it to the earlier motif. Gifts and oaths pay off here. Mjolnir's making, born from daring and insult, hammered under pressure, reaches its last use. The oath behind the tool matters too. The hammer is not just a weapon. It is a pledge made metal, a promise to meet threats that move like storms. That promise has a date. The date arrives. The tool answers. The rite closes. We keep the focus on agency. Thor chooses the cost. Fate names the price, but he pays it clean, no bargaining. No pause to ask for an exception. He acts the way a bridge holds under a load it was built to bear. The load breaks the bridge after the crossing, but the crossing stands. That's the analogy worth carrying. Good strength is like a structure with a lifespan. It aims to deliver, not to last forever. The scene breathes for a beat after he falls. The waves settle into new lines. The ring at the rim of the world loosens where the serpent once pulled tight. For a moment, there is space in the air, as if the world took a first full breath after years of shallow ones. That relief does not cancel the cost. It frames it. We understand what the 9 steps bought. Across the field, the pattern repeats. Champions do their parts and drop. No one expects a hero to survive the job. The job is the point. The culture in these tales measures worth by follow-through, not survival. You see it in how the lines do not break when leaders fall. Each figure's duty locks into the next, like pegs on a wheel. We build anticipation now, because with the great opponents down, the elements take their turn. Fire rises where it wants. Ice breaks where it pleases. The tree groans with a weight it cannot throw off. Without Thor to steady the line against the sea's wildness, water will run its script. Without Odin to hold the center with sight and song, fear will test the edges. The world moves to the phase where natural forces and old fires finish what the duels began. What this means is that choice under fate is the lesson the myths underline. Knowing the end does not spoil the act. It clarifies it. You don't waste motion. You pick the strike that counts. You take the steps you can take after the win. You leave a shape people can retell without fluff, because the form itself teaches. If you want a single sentence to keep this. He knows and does it anyway. That's the ethic. It runs from this clash back through earlier wagers, through the tree and the wells and the soft ribbon that held a monster for a while. It tells us what to do when we face problems that cannot be erased, only met and managed for time enough to matter. We stay with the image of the 9 steps a little longer because it offers a modest test anyone can apply. When you win something hard, how far can you walk after it? How cleanly can you set the tool down? How ready are you to let the next line do its part without your hand on it? The myth gives a number and a pace, not to boast, but to count. Now the field changes color. Heat and flood roll in. Structures fail in sequence. The great bridge splits. The old order drops into the furnace and the sea at once. And under ash and spray, breath waits. The world burns, floods, and then, somehow, breathes again. Can an ending be a seed? In the old stories, yes. After the last blows land and the great foes fall, the world doesn't go straight to silence. It shifts. Fire takes its due. Water takes its turn. Then something small breathes. Now the sweep. Surtur raises flame high, not as a random blaze, but as a finish to old debts. His sword moves like a sunset turned sharp. Light bends, heat roars. Bifrost, the bright bridge that carried messengers and vows, splits and falls in colored shards. Paths between realms burn out, so traffic stops, and each world faces itself. Seas rise, Swells roll over fields that once held barley and stones carved with runes. Shores fail. Boats lift and spin without oars. You hear the hiss where fire meets flood and neither backs down. If all is ash, who remembers the vows? That question sits at the center of this phase. A storm this large erases tracks. It peels names from wood and paint from shields. When everything looks like cinders and foam, you wonder what record survives. The answer arrives in two parts, one loud, one quiet. First, the sky resets its clock. The sun's child steps into a path left empty and learns to rise. A new light runs the old route, steady and clean. That rhythm wakes habits. People mark dawn and dusk again. The ground, charred and soaked, green's grass pushes through warm ash. Hills lose their gray. Water pulls back into banks. Rivers find beds. The shift looks simple, but it matters. With a sun to count, you can hold a right. With green to cut, you can share a meal that isn't grief. The quiet part is deeper. Two humans wake in a wood. Their names carry the sense of life and the one who clings to it. They did not win a duel or sit a high seat. They survived with patience more than show dew feeds them. Not feasts, not horn calls, dew. They step careful under leaves and wait between dangers. Their courage is a long, low burn. It does not flash. It endures. In a cycle obsessed with oaths and edges, their kind of bravery is the hinge that lets any of this continue. What this means is that renewal starts small. It speaks in dawns, not drums. You don't hear a trumpet. You hear insects return. You don't see a banner. You see moss on a rock and seeds in dirt that once ran black. Think of a hearth after a long night. One coal holds heat. A single breath and a handful of dry shavings bring it back. The scale isn't grand. The effect is. Across the emptied halls, survivors gather where they know the ground is true. Yggdrasil draws them like a memory. The field that blesses vows and hosts battles now hosts a circle again. They walk it with the care of people who know how much can break. In the grass, they find golden pieces, not coins, but objects that link to their old order. These are not winnings. They are anchors. They pick them up and retell deeds around them, not to boast, but to set the pattern back down in words that can be taught. We feel cyclical time as a working rule, not a slogan. A new sun climbs. Seeded fields take root. A pantheon reshapes from who is left and what they learned. Roles adjust because losses demand it. The oath to keep order no longer sounds like the proud charge of a young hall. It sounds like a seasoned vow spoken by people who watch their world fall and still choose to stand it back up. The mini payoff lands in that quiet pair. Who survives and why? The humble couple live because they hide and wait. They do not try to punch the storm. They read it, tuck in, and save breath. Endurance is its own courage. It keeps the thread uncut, so when the big work needs hands, there are hands to lift. Their presence answers the fear that ash deletes everything. It doesn't. It covers. You brush it aside, and there, under the gray, the faint lines of the old floor show where to lay the first plank. The grand payoff follows the script the myths have pointed to from the start. The fall lands exactly as sung. Fire, flood, broken bridge, lost lights, last stands. That accuracy isn't dull. It proves the frame. Prophecy here doesn't aim to shock. It aims to prepare. The rebirth is the point. The circle holds. The world spins out, burns down, then returns with enough memory to try again, shaped by the cost it just paid. You and I can hear the tone of the retelling on that field. They do not rush. They place names with care. They admit losses without dressing them. They speak of tools made in risk and used at the edge. Some return. some do not. The point is not to collect them all. The point is to hold the lesson they carried. Law must be broad enough to bend. Craft must be quick enough to bind. Courage must be honest enough to face ends without cheating the terms. A small note on scale helps. Starting over does not mean empty. It means light loads. You plant what you can, not what you wish. You set watch in shifts you can keep. You repair one beam, then another. You do it without fanfare because fanfare wastes breath. The new order isn't shy, it's efficient. It saves its drums for the day when children who never saw the ash can march and sing without flinching. Across cultures, this pattern repeats. Fire clears, water cleans, green returns. In this myth, the names shift, but the ethic sticks. You carry forward what you can trust. Oaths that held under pressure, tools that worked without pride, forms that kept panic from running the room. New voices add verses to the old song. The melody remains. So can an ending be a seed? In the old stories, always. The ash bed is fertile. The dew is enough. The field remembers. The circle tightens, then opens. The people who lived by patience teach the pace. The gods who lived by duty set the tone. Together, they make a world that looks like the old one only where it should, in the shape of its honor and the path of its sun. We end where we began with a pledge. Fate names the shape. Choice fills it. Honor is the engine that keeps the wheel turning. The next turn is already moving, slow and sure, as light climbs and hands lift tools that once were only stories. Can an ending be a seed? In the old stories, fire takes the roof and flood lifts the floor. Bifrost breaks. Surtur's blaze runs the map. Seas rise and swallow lines we thought were fixed. Then a quiet turn. Lif and Lifthrasir wake in a wood, dew on leaves, food enough to start small. The sun's child climbs, and light returns without fanfare. Survivors reach Yggdrasil, find golden pieces, and speak old deeds into new law. Renewal starts plain, names gathered, fields seeded, tools shared. The lesson lands slow, endurance beats spectacle, time folds. A new ring forms. The wheel turns because vows kept under ash still hold.